Hello, my name is Matthias Cavodi. I'd like to welcome guys to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the SpiderMan tie-ins into the Inferno crossover, which was a crossover that revolved around the X-Men and New Mutants. But the Spidey stories are pretty solid tie-ins, and at least I really enjoyed them. They're much better compared to the Fantastic Four or Avengers tie-ins. And we're going to cover Amazing Spider-Man issues 311 to 313. Which were written by David Micheline, and we have fantastic art by Todd McFarlane, some of his best stuff. Like, I really enjoyed his art on his run in Spider-Man. We have Spectacular Spider-Man issues 146 to 147, which is written by Jerry Conway and illustrated by Buscema. And Web of Spider-Man, which is also written by Gerry Conway, and I didn't write down the artist, but we'll check out who he is further down the line. So, we get into the first story, and just look at McFarlane's art. It's fantastic. It's aged really well. This has been more than 30 years have passed, and I still think it's pretty awesome. I don't get the same feeling with art by maybe like somebody from the same time, Rob Liefeld. That back then when I was a kid, I thought it was totally awesome. Now I look back at his work, it's like, like maybe you get some awkward poses every once in a while in McFarlane's work, but it's normally really solid, and artistically, at least for me, it looks really good. And the first story, they do a really good idea. They have a really good idea with having the first tie-in with Mysterio. So Spidey is having to deal with all these things going on in the city, like these statues, lion statues attacking people, this giant coming out of nowhere attacking a couple. And what he discovers is that Mysterio is the one behind these attacks, but he doesn't realize he's not behind all of these weird attacks, because during the whole situation of the Inferno, we have demons that are starting to pour into New York City from X-Men's version of Hell, Limbo. And also the city starts to become alive, and cars, bikes, post boxes, lion statues are also like being possessed and start attacking people. So, and Spidey is pretty much oblivious to this whole situation. So when he confronts Mysterio, he thinks he's the one behind the whole city going crazy. McFarlane, like, every time McFarlane draws a cape, he has an obsession with capes, but he does a really good job. And his representation of Mysterio is awesome, really awesome. So Spidey has to deal with Mysterio. The only thing I don't like about these issues with McFarlane is that he resolved, like, the writer resolves the story like in 2 panels. He defeats the villain. First, you see this with Mysterio. It's more normal because normally Spider-Man unveils that Mysterio is the problem. He normally just punches him once and he's down for the count. But we're going to see in the other issues this happens again and again. So, Spidey conveniently defeats Mysterio nice and quick. I think they could have done like a 3-issue story arc just with Mysterio and the whole Inferno thing. That would have been a really good idea, but it's a pretty good story. We have the next story, Spectacular Spider-Man 146. And we have a situation with Norman Osborn. He's having nightmares. He's having flashbacks with the Green Goblin. He took up the Green Goblin mantle. He became the second Green Goblin. But he got bonked on the head. He lost his memory. And he's starting to have flashbacks with that. And we discover that Hobgoblin is actually staking him out, spying on him. And what we find out is actually the Hobgoblin is trying to discover where the original Goblin Serum is hidden, Norman Osborn's Goblin Serum. So he thinks maybe Harry Osborn has it hidden in his house, or maybe in the Oscorp factory. So Harry calls Peter. He's like, man, I'm dealing with these nightmares and I have a lot of pressure running this business, so on and so forth. Like, he needs a friend to talk to. So Peter goes there, and because of Inferno, the whole plant goes crazy, starts attacking people there. So Spidey is able to save the day, but the whole plant explodes, goes to hell. This makes things worse for Harry. He's like dealing with all this pressure. Spidey goes back to the plant to see what the hell went on. Finds Hobgoblin there. So Spidey actually thinks Hobgoblin is the one responsible for the whole pandemonium that went down in the previous issue. Because actually we jumped to Web of Spider-Man 47, so we're going through different series. But Hobgoblin's actually looking for the Goblin Serum. He flies away. Hobgoblin later on arrives to Harry Osborn's house, starts attacking Harry Osborn, and you like really feel bad for Harry Osborn because he wants to defend his family. He just doesn't. He's just really weak. He doesn't have the means. He's sort of a coward. Like some really good writing. Like you feel really bad for the guy, and over this whole situation, Spidey's having to deal with Hobgoblin, which Hobgoblin is no slouch. Like he's a pretty heavy hitter within the Spidey pantheon of villains. This pushes Norman Osborn over the edge. He finds his old Green Goblin costume and retakes the mantle. And one might wonder, maybe the whole situation, the Inferno also pushed him to this too. So 312, Harry Osborn is back to being the Green Goblin. And just art, like McFarlane just kills it. I already said that, but he does a really good job. We get a battle between Green Goblin and Hobgoblin over the Goblin Serum, and the way McFarlane drives Hobgoblin also. Just look at this. This is just masterful. Look, just really good. So Spidey hops in, tries to give Harry Osborn a hand. Harry Osborn actually is the one to deliver the defeating blow against Hobgoblin. And the whole situation, the dialogues between Spidey and Harry are really good. Like you really feel bad for the guy and his whole situation. Then we have Spectacular Spider-Man 147. Hobgoblin, what he decides, he's like, fuck, I can't get my hands on the Goblin Serum. Maybe if I sell my soul to a demon, I will become more powerful. So what happens, Spidey gets bitten by a gargoyle that just really messes him up. And what happens, I don't have the pages marked. Hobgoblin goes to Nastir. He's like one of the main villains of the whole crossover. Offers to sell his soul. Nastir is like, okay, you want that? And turns Hobgoblin into a demon. So basically, this is the birth. That demon's going to evolve over time and become a Demogoblin or Demogoblin. So here we have the whole transformation. Like, Hobgoblin realizes that his idea wasn't the best out there. So Spidey's having to deal with a city that's already gone to hell. He's realized that something having to do with Limbo or with Hell or something like that. Like he never crosses paths with any of the X-Men. That's a really weird thing. In this particular story, they don't plug him into the Spidey stories, but he has to find Mary Jane in all of this chaos. And this leads into a battle between Hobgoblin and Spidey in the sewers, which it's a pretty awesome battle, but the way they conclude the battle, it's really bad. Mary Jane grabs a piece of her dress and sets it on fire and throws it on Hobgoblin's cape and comes on fire. And there's like this broken gas duct and it blows up. But the way she throws the piece of fabric, it's just like the physics is all wrong. It's a very nitpicky thing. But I thought it just wasn't the best idea for me. And then 313, Spidey going up against the Lizard. The Lizard's back. He wants to hunt down his family. The whole craziness with the Inferno made him regress into his Lizard persona. And there's a funny part where Spidey has to fight against the Macy Days Parade Spider-Man float, where it becomes like this giant Stay Puft Marshmallow monster. And Spidey whips up in like 15 minutes a serum to cure Lizard. So like here again is what I tell you, where they resolve the story in like 2 panels really quickly and very conveniently. But we get at the end, Spidey's able to defeat the Lizard. And I forgot to mention Spectacular Spider-Man 148. It's a zombie story that it's okay. It's nothing to write home about. But I'm going to leave this video here. Next one, we're going to do the Daredevil tie-ins. Hope you guys liked it.